We have to fight this legitimization and refuse any kind of political transition that would have Assad, because this would mean the continuation of the war.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. I had expected to open the show with another call for you to attend the Gandhi Peace Award on Sunday, April 23rd. However, the Israelis arrested Omar Barghouti, who is to receive the Gandhi Peace Award along with Ralph Nader. Barghouti was being honored for his leadership in the BDS movement. BDS stands for boycotts, divestment, and sanctions, ways to pressure the Israeli government into honoring Palestinian rights. However, the arrogance and vanity of Israeli leaders has no bounds. They want BDS crushed, along with any other form of resistance to Israeli apartheid. Israeli President Rivlin called BDS a strategic threat, claiming it was some kind of grave physical harm to Israelis. Barghouti has been married to an Israeli citizen for decades, lives in an Israeli town or city called Acre, which is south of Haifa. He's not a citizen. His status is permanent resident. He has no Israeli passport, but had been given travel permission from the Israeli government. But last year, in 2016, that permission was revoked by the government. That same year, the Israeli Interior Minister threatened Barghouti's right to live in Israel. Another minister called for the civil targeted assassination of BDS leaders. The Israeli government then set up something called the Tarnishing Unit, which the major Israeli paper al-Araj said had as its purpose dirty tricks against supporters of BDS, efforts to tarnish reputations. That was last year. In an attempt to attend the Gandhi Peace Award that was honoring him, Barghouti went to an Israeli court and this month won a document that entitles him for 2 months of travel. Then a few days later, he was arrested for tax evasion, supposedly something involving ATM machines that his company runs on the West Bank. Incredibly, there's a gag order that prevents Barghouti or his lawyers from speaking about the case in public. Why a gag order in a tax case? What does that tell you about what the authorities are up to? We don't know anything about the facts of the charge, but given the history of threats against BDS and Barghouti, the assumption should be that the Israeli government is making good on its threats to eliminate Palestinian BDS activists, starting with Omar Barghouti. We begin in Ramallah with something that may seem all too usual: Palestinian peacefully demonstrating and being beaten and dispersed. What is unusual, or may seem that way, is that it's not Israelis doing this to the Palestinians, but Palestinian police employed by the Palestinian Authority. The action had been organized to protest the Palestinian Authority for its cooperation with Israel against a Palestinian named Basil al-Araj. Al-Araj was a longtime activist who had taken part in a number of nonviolent actions over the years, including protests against the apartheid wall being built through his town of al-Walaja and taking most of the farmland, and the Freedom Riders action, where Palestinians tried to ride the Jewish-only bus into Jerusalem. Al-Araj was killed by Israeli soldiers who claimed he had been exchanging fire with them. A piece on the Israeli site 972 Mag compared what happened to al-Araj to what Chicago police did to Black Panther Fred Hampton many decades ago. In the recent Ramallah protest, PA police injured Basil al-Faraj's father, sending him to the hospital. Now from a rally in Washington, D.C. by mostly young Syrians on the 6th anniversary of the uprising against the dictatorship.
We have over 6 million refugees, 12 million who has been internally displaced and have lost their homes, their lives, their children, their education, their future. We have lost everything, but I know one thing for sure that we didn't lose, and that is hope. And that is resilience. If we lost hope and resilience, we wouldn't have Syria till this very day fighting superpowers and regional countries and terrorists. Till this very first day, Syrians are fighting their battle.
يا بشار يلا ارحل يا بشار يلا ارحل يا بشار ويا بشار ويا كذاب وتضرب انت وهالخطاب الحري Chicago from the Syria Solidarity International Movement, David Turpin from Chicago. Let me hear from David.
Okay, I'm a little humbled here. This wasn't what I was expecting. Okay, I want to say that first of all, I want to say something that might surprise you. I come from an anti-war and left tradition, and if you're ready to boo, I can understand why. Because my movement betrayed your people. We have to start by saying that the U.S. left, the U.S. anti-war movement, ANSWER, UNAC, U.S. Peace Council, they are in bed with Assad. They're in bed with a genocidal mass murderer. And my movement betrayed you. And that's why I and a few other comrades who were with me in the anti-war committees in solidarity to the struggle for self-determination decided to try to launch something called Syria Solidarity International, a space where leftists with principles could join together with the Syrian solidarity movement in the struggle for democracy in Syria. Because we believe that Assad out is an anti-war demand. We believe that Assad is the face of the war on terror that we oppose, because Assad is the #1 terrorist in Syria. Assad is burning Syria. So it is my anti-war duty to oppose Assad with you. Assad out! Assad out! Assad out! And I want to say to Tulsi Gabbard, you've got blood on your mouth, Tulsi Gabbard, because you've been kissing Assad's hands. You've got blood on your mouth, Tulsi Gabbard. You need to shut up and go wash your face. And I want to say something else. I'm not a Muslim, but I want to say something else. I have enough sense to recognize that Daesh and Al-Qaeda are not Muslim. They are not Muslim, and Sebastian Gorka, Trump's advisor, and Trump are not Christian. And I'm going to say something else. Yes, I stand in solidarity with the Syrian Democratic Revolution, and I stand in solidarity with all my Muslim brothers and sisters, because I know that when they're coming for them, next it may be me. And I have something to say to Mr. Cruz. Ted Cruz, you're a bully. You're a bully. You're a chump. Let me say something about you, Mr. Cruz. There are more than 40,000 political prisoners in Egypt that are being summarily executed in phony judicial processes, and you want to accuse those people of being terrorists? Well, I know why you're doing that. Because you want to put the Muslim Brotherhood on a terrorist watch list, and Sebastian Gorka wants to put the CARE, he wants to put the Council of American Islamic Relations on the terrorist watch list. What they're preparing to do is criminalize Islam, just like they criminalized the Latino community all around this country. Mass criminalization, mass repression, that's the face of the war on terror. That's what I oppose. Freedom in Syria.
Let me hear it one more time for David Labado. ويا عيني ويا روحي والسوري شايف حاله. يا عيني ويا روحي والسوري شايف حاله. والحلبي خفيف الدم وضحكه بينسيك الهم. لا هم رصاصه ولا دمه عايش ولا على بال.
We are here to tell Mr. Assad that Syria will be free. We are here to tell the butcher of Syria, the butcher of Damascus, that it will not last. And we will see you in Europe, not as a refugee. We will see you in Europe in the criminal court. We will see you in The Hague. You and your cronies will be put on trials like other people were. Look at Charles Taylor. Look at Milosevic. All of them. It will not last for you. Syria is for Syrians. Syria is not for the Assad family. And you will be out sooner or later. And we will not stop. We will not quit until you're out. And Mr. Putin, Syria will be free and will be democratic. They will not be like Russia. And your Russian troop has to get out of Syria. Syria is not for Russians, and the true Russian people do not want to be in Syria. Your own country will be democracy one day. And we tell the world, the United States of America, President Reagan, United States of America, the wall of Germany went down, and the curtain wall of the Soviet Union went down. And this is the United States of America that will stop Putin, will stop him in Syria, and it will stop Iran, and Hezbollah will be out of Syria. Iran and Assad made ISIS, and we know that. And we will defeat ISIS and every terrorist everywhere in the world. And Syria will be free. Free, free Syria!
We have
والحرية هنا 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 ومن حول صعب
Who's from Damascus? Who's from Damascus in the Sham? Who's from Aleppo? Who's from Halab? Who's from Idlib? Who's from Idlib? Hama? Homs? Daraa? Raqqa? Deir ez-Zor? Let me hear from Syria. Thank you for those who are non-Syrians who came and joined us, or I think they are maybe as much as we are, if not more. The Iranian community. Let's go, let me hear it. The Iranian community. Egyptians. Palestinians. Lebanese. Moroccan. Pakistani. I say Pakistani. Bengalis, Sri Lanka. We got all representatives, okay?
والقهر الثورة ولدت فينا باعوا أحلامي لكن في صمت كلامي والمجد كالخلد لا يقتل أبدا فينا قيدني اليوم وغدا حرا سأكون لن أرضى الكسر للنصر نحن خلقنا وحيينا إني الحرية إني الصوت المسموع.
Save Syria! Save Syria! Save Syria! Save Syria! Save Syrian children! Save Syrian children! Save Syrian children! Save Idlib! Save Idlib! Save Syria! Free Syria! Free Syria! There is only one solution!
It's not for the Syrians to show that we need anybody else to help us free Syria. The Syrians in Syria will free Syria. We are just here to let the world know that the Syrians in Syria will free it. We don't want any foreign countries in there. No Russia, no Iran, nothing. Free Syria! Free Syria! Free Syria!
Brothers and sisters who just joined us in this field.
Say it loud, say it clear. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here.
And the last part of Joseph Daher's talk about Syria at Barnard College in New York. He was talking about what Syrian Kurds have done with an area they call Rojava. And he ends what he thinks we should all be doing about Syria.
Rojava institution, a lot is to say on it. There are some very positive issues that I think we cannot put aside, like participation, involvement of women on different scales, secularization of law, to a certain extent, religious and ethnic tolerance. And I think it should be acknowledged. At the same time, there are problems. And I think there has been a romanticization of Rojava institution, presenting it like the new Commune de Paris, Paris Commune, like new Belgium, etc. Bon, this is PYD remained to be a very authoritarian party, preventing other Kurdish political parties to organize and repressing them very harshly in some cases. In Amuda protest in June of 2012, a couple of protesters were killed. You had massive scale of repression of other Kurdish youth activists. Pragmatic, as I said, agreements with the regime, but with also Russia. They opened their office in Moscow, captured new territories controlled by FSA forces with the assistance of Russia. This does not mean, and this is why, and it's wrong to say PYD is an ally of the regime. It's a pragmatic agreement and a punctual moment. But strategically, they're completely opposed. Assad regime will never accept, and couple of statements proved it, will never accept Kurdish autonomy in Syria. So this is why they are not ally. But something must be clear, and especially I think among Syrian revolutionary groups or opposition groups. We have to stand in solidarity and we have to support the self-determination of the Kurdish people, just as we support the self-determination of the Palestinian people. But this does not mean at the same time that we're uncritical of parties leading this kind of movements. Being in Palestine, Hamas or Fatah, and I hope you're not uncritical, or the PYD, or any kind of other Kurdish national party. I'm not very sympathetic towards Barzani as well. I'm very critical, and we can have the discussion of this as well. But also to say that the main responsibility for the increased division among Arabs and Kurds today in Syria, for the opposition areas, is the opposition of the coalition, the Etilaf, Syrian National Council and the Etilaf, composed majority of liberals and Muslim Brotherhood, that has had the same chauvinistic and racist discourse than the regime. No different, even sometimes worse, I would say. They allied with Erdogan, supporting repression of Kurds, not only in Syria but in Turkey. Supported the Turkish military invasion against the Kurdish people in Syria. Supported attacks of Islamic fundamentalist forces against Kurdish people. So they have a huge responsibility and should be condemned for this. We can come back on this issue later. In conclusion, perspectives for the future of Syria, in a couple of words, and I think this needs discussion. For me, the most important thing today in Syria is to stop the war, the military conflict, both on a humanitarian basis and on a political basis. Humanitarian because the level of catastrophe in Syria is absolutely, and it's humongous. More than half of the population are internally displaced or in foreign countries, mostly in neighboring areas. You have 80% of poverty, or people living under or in the poverty line. More than 75% of unemployment. Cities completely, at least hugely destroyed. Aleppo, it's between 50 to 60%. We have, if the possibility of putting an end to the war means internally displaced people can go back to their homes, it's something that we cannot deny, and it's important. Refugees, wherever they are, especially, no, not wherever they are, but I mean in Europe and US, should have the choice to stay or to go back. Most of them would stay, and they have the right, and we'll come back on this issue. We should defend their right to stay. But also politically, every time there was a partial ceasefire, even in Syria, people were able to reorganize. We've seen this in March 2016, more than hundreds points of demonstration throughout the liberated areas of Syria. Democratic slogans and non-sectarian. Same thing happened at the end of December 2016. Again. And we see again the contradiction with Islamic fundamentalist forces. So politically, this is important. This does not mean at the same time that we should accept the re-legitimization of the Assad regime that is occurring on a daily basis. Internationally, on the media, etc. We have to fight this re-legitimization and refuse any kind of political transition that would have Assad, because this would mean the continuation of the war. Because if Assad continues, he will erase any kind of, eliminate any kind of opposition within Syria. And the necessity to support democratic forces within Syria, to build this third pole that I talked about it. And it will show also, with the end of the military confrontation, the contradiction within the regime that are exploding more and more. These past few days you had strikes in Latakia, Tartus, coastal areas that considered regime supported because there's increasing social problems. I will end this, I'm sorry. So increasing social problem, that it will have to deal with it. Internal contradictions. In conclusion, my last word, I think we have to make the links between the struggles in Syria and what's happening on a massive scale in the world, and especially in the US. Mass mobilization, etc. Just as the uprisings in the Middle East and North Africa in 2010, 2011 were not limited to the region, I remind you. Occupy movement came out from the revolutionary wave of the region. You had huge mass mobilization, people saying we want to be like Egyptians, we want to work like Egyptians, taking model on the uprisings in Syria, Egypt, Bahrain, Tunis. So just as we shouldn't see these revolutionary processes, even though they are witnessing difficult times, it's not the end. There will be ups and downs. And to make these links, we have to make the links of what's happening, especially for you, now in the US. Make the links between the struggle against Islamophobia, which is targeting mainly Muslim but Syrian people, to target, any kind of Syrian refugee as a jihadist. Saying, clearly welcome refugees, and the people that stood with Assad and saying the same to welcome refugees, these contradictions are going to explode. And I think for Syrian Solidarity Group, there's attempts that we can make the links with local struggles, to make the links between our struggles, because I really believe, and these will be my last words, that our destinies are linked. Whether we are, every victory of people somewhere for emancipation and liberation is a victory for people somewhere else. Thank you.
That's our program for today. I'm Stanley Heller for The Struggle.